Let's see if we have audio. There we go.
I hear audio.
Okay, we're gonna try that again. I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 6:33 PM on November 7th, 2024. This is a Human Rights Commission work session. Who do we have with us? We can go through roll call. Odd call.
I will leave that. We were anticipating Ernest, not here yet. Okay,
Here.
Mary, not here. And Catherine,
Here.
Dawn is not here. Suzanne,
I am here.
Jason is not here. Heather
Here.
and Elizabeth.
Here.
No quorum, thank you.
Great, thanks all for joining. We will then recite our mission. Have their agendas in front of them or the other side of your name tag. Okay, our mission is to act as a strong advocate to justice and equal opportunity by providing citywide leadership and guidance in the area of civil rights. Lead my workplace's LGBTQ plus employee resource group, and I've taken to doing the same thing with that group.
Oh, I love that.
I also make them recite our mission statement. Or like, why are we here? What are we doing? It's like, I know a way, we can all get on the same page. It's a little weird at first, but you're gonna like it. Okay. We're gonna open up to matters by the public. Note that this is for in-person attendees only. Do not believe we have anyone physically present who would like to make a public comment. For anyone who is participating virtually, if you have experiencing technical difficulties, you may call the number 434-970-3115, and a staff person will be able to assist you. Again, that's 434-970-3115. Okay. We're gonna roll it into our work session today. I'm gonna switch some things around because Ernest is unable to join us until later in the meeting. So instead of leading with our public hearing vote, I'm gonna say let's first deal with our city local policy recommendations, discussion and letter, which is at the very end of your packet. Grab that page. I think it's attachment 5. Yeah. Page 363 of your agenda packet.
Take a while to find that today.
I believe I have access to the editable version, not editable version, but editable. If we want to make any changes.
Sorry, nothing is downloading for me right now, but when
Okay.
when I was looking at it earlier today, I think there's a question about how much of it is still fully relevant and what we need to change in terms of, there's both the suggestion in about low barrier housing that is starting to be addressed, as well as the outreach positions that is also being addressed. So once I get in, but I just wanted to name that when I looked at it earlier today, it felt somewhat outdated, which was great.
Actually great because the
It's
city has been
really great.
discussing
Yes,
the first and third,
yes.
at least in public sessions. And I think there's been some conversation too, at least in the email chains I've seen, about right to counsel or effective right to counsel.
Okay, got it. No, it's a different one.
So yeah, with the letter, with actually both letters, I feel like, I guess it's worth asking, is there a kind of time constraint? Like, I know we want to get them to them in time for budget season consideration, but as this information is kind of coming in, I think we kind of now know what we don't know and how to know it. So it's like, could we kind of pause this while we wait for input to come in from members of the community and various organizations, around that funding for the outreach position, and do we feel like for that one, we just kind of need to rephrase this to kind of just say, yes, city, we want to give you, we like what you're doing.
we affirm
Mhm.
this
Affirm.
plan as opposed to we urge you to do this.
Right,
plan.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's very well put, Wolfgang.
Yeah.
And then for the effective right to counsel, you know, as we saw that email, Albemarle is continuing to fund counsel for tenants facing eviction, but Charlottesville has stopped. And so,
Surprise to me,
Wait, what?
not to interrupt,
Yeah.
that email chain, I was like, I
Yeah,
was not
we-
aware of what the county has set up versus the
I
city.
was also like really unaware, so. But so at the meeting where it came up, I pulled us, you know, I talked to Emily about kind of looping in, and Todd, you were there too. And looping in,
Sorry, who's Emily?
Emily Dreyfus from LAJC was
Okay.
there. About kind of looping in a conversation with LAJC about what is possible from their end. And then almost just wondering if we should ask them for guidance about what would be useful for us to ask for, what's like reasonable, you know, just getting some insight from them was my thinking. But I'd really love to hear what other people think.
So a thought to, LAJC's focus, I think primarily for evictions is for people with vouchers or living in subsidized housing.
That's correct.
And I'm curious about, should we attempt to re-engage with Central Virginia Legal Aid Society, who does the work around other types of residences?
Yeah.
Just to see, like, does it need to be spread over two different organizations to get a broader impact?
That's an interesting point. I mean, you know, I've said this before, but my issue with that is just that because you have to be below the poverty line to receive or to work with them for market rate. There's just very few people who are paying market rate rent and don't make more than the poverty line. You know, it's just an incredibly low threshold. So even if they did have the funds, it's almost like,
Yeah.
you know, although the clients that they do represent, they're wonderful and they, you know.
Am I understanding that LAJC's thresholds are higher than CBL?
Yeah, so LAJC can represent anyone that lives in any subsidized, like a LIHTC property,
Yeah.
an income-based rental, so something like Kindlewood, that you know, it's LIHTC and it's income-based, or people that receive housing vouchers.
I guess without the input, I'm not really sure what the more curated ask would be that we
Right.
could.
Yeah,
And maybe to your question of sort of what is the timeline that we need to push this out? Like, what is the most, I'll defer to you, Todd and Lily and Lauren and Shael about like your awareness of city budget needs and that season. Since we're. Well versed in.
Give you a little bit more of a sense of where,
How fast we have to make that ask.
yeah, so there's a kind of a budget calendar that I can talk to you about a little bit. Opening it up. So there's a bunch of work sessions and public hearings and forums about the budget. And I'll say this, so the budget gets approved on April 14th is the proposed at that council meeting.
There's so many meetings leading up to
There's
it.
lots of meetings leading up to it. They did the kickoff in September, and I'm just kind of looking at, so the city manager's budget forum is December 12th, but I believe that is like the public, as I recall last time, this was city manager hosted a public event for members of the public to ask questions about the budget. And that was at Carver. the first council work session. There's two planning commission things that happened earlier, but the first council work session on the budget here is on January 30th. So that might be a time to present. I don't know how that works in terms of like being able to interact with council, but I can find that out. And if that's a moment. Or at least before then, having something in their hands to read before that work session might be the right time.
Do you have a sense, Elizabeth, about how quickly you might get a response from Emily?
Yeah,
But there-
well, I think kind of, timelines have shifted. Probably, and priorities are shifting in the
Right.
process of shifting right now. But, I would guess that they'll probably get back to me, let's say within the week. Let's maybe say, and then we could always make a more, like a less specific ask. And then kind of do both, right? Like, kind of keep the ask that we have in place if we can't get more information. And then maybe add in the information about the funding in Albemarle County. And then as we get closer to budget season, like maybe right now, say, we're flagging this, we want this to be a priority. And then as we get closer to budget season, kind of say, okay, here's the specifics that we're looking for, here's what we know is possible, or, something like that.
Because the things that we're asking for at this point. Based on, I'm still having major technical difficulties. Oh, but I am in the correct document.
Yeah.
So
I
the
just
things
added, I
that,
just added a comment.
yeah, so the things that we're asking for are basic, at this point, what we're saying is. We support the low barrier shelter and the supports for homelessness. But the ask is really about the effect of the right to counsel piece. So then it makes me think. I guess, is there a quick letter? I mean, we were saying this, like, do we just send like a quick note from HRC that says thumbs up on, or we very much appreciate that you're moving forward with X, Y, and Z. And then we keep that separated. And then use that, get more information and use the right to counsel later? Is that the right?
I mean, Mary,
Have we communicated with them in that way before, kind of in a, like a, a little bit more of a dialogue rather than sending one letter that delivers all of our
pretty much
recommendations?
letter and then maybe questions afterward,
Mhm.
or letter and then like
Silence.
silence.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But there's no reason that we can't send multiple
Yeah.
smaller notes.
I mean, we're only making one ask, right? I think
We're only making one ask.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like
Asks would
encouraging
be-
words.
Yes, but sending a good job, keep it up,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
a separate ask seems.
Cause a separate ask will be, it sounds like it will be a little while down the road, right? Like we're waiting for additional information.
That's a good point. Maybe we just kind of keep the vague part about right to counsel in this letter, and we hold off on this separate letter. And flesh that out as time comes, and it's an extremely specific and actionable letter that we can send a month or two from now.
We actually have that already in there. We will be following up with a letter that further underscores
Yeah.
our support. And then we can add that underscores our support for providing universal counsel to tenants and eviction proceedings, as well as like, I don't know, regional examples of where this has been done effectively.
Yeah.
Or right, exactly.
Fine.
Also, does everyone have easy access to the current Google Doc? Or are you going to bump it in the email?
Bumping it would be really great.
I
I am
got you.
looking at the doc, but.
It took
it's
me a
on
while to
Google
find it,
Docs.
because I was like, I thought this was in SharePoint, but it's not in SharePoint.
And the city's recommendation on the supports was actually 2 outreach coordinators, is that right? That was my understanding from.
have the whole.
Yeah,
commission.
that meeting was a 2-year pilot.
Okay,
Sam Sanders' point was he didn't want to add positions without very careful deliberation, because then at some point you might have to fire a person in a position.
Mhm.
I guess, you're, and so the 2-year pilot.
But it was one homeless services coordinator position and 2 outreach.
Oh, so it's
Homeless
3
outreach.
positions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the ask in this document then sufficient? When funds seem to have been allocated, but people not been hired? Does it seem to be the barrier?
No, no,
Again,
no,
I've
now
missed- I've
they're
missed your
moving forward.
So now they're moving
They are moving
forward.
So that position's been
Okay.
there and they didn't do
Right.
anything. Now they have a plan
They got a
and they're
plan.
going to execute it and
We
it's.
affirm that.
Yes, and
Okay, so
they're-
that's what I'm writing, number 3 is
Excited.
we affirm the city's recommendation to include in the budget,
Mhm.
sorry, Lily, what were the specific, to include in the budget 2 outreach
Homeless
coordinators?
services
Sorry,
coordinator.
to include a homeless services coordinator.
2 homelessness outreach positions.
I think that's all we need, right?
You may want to specify it's the city manager's recommendation, because it
Okay.
hasn't
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
Okay.
adopted by council just yet.
No, we are from this manager's recommendation. Gotcha.
Mhm.
That's a good point, right? It wasn't.
Should include homeless positions.
Although the money's already there, right?
For-
Can't he just move forward?
Is it already in this, but like in all 3, or is some of it gonna be in? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the money for that is there. The outreach piece is new, I believe. It was previously just a homeless services coordinator, so I think it's fine the way
Yeah.
that it worded.
I like that. Accept.
Do you also want to advocate or support the rest of the recommendations, including the shelter?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And do you want to articulate that here? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you mean in addition to number 1 up above?
Yeah,
Okay.
there are other recommendations, right?
Oh, sorry, I got you.
The city
Yeah.
council meeting, what date was it?
The other one I haven't listened to yet. Yep.
During
November 4th.
It was Monday, okay.
Yep.
And so work,
The
this is the
Keepers
work,
go on
this is the
Monday?
work session.
On this
I
different.
think this was. Not, was it November? I don't think it was November 4th that Sam presented that. It was in October, was it not? Was it
The
November?
one you emailed out.
Was that-
It was not November 4th.
No, it was the one.
Yeah, it was the
before.
one before,
It
yeah.
was Here, we can look at the date.
And that was a long time ago because I feel like there were like extra weeks in October. It had,
You do?
it had like a 5th Thursday or something.
Um,
Yeah, it just feels so long now, so long ago,
Every 2 weeks, the 21st.
yeah.
I can- yeah, I think it's-
What were some of the other policy recommendations? I can only remember public bathrooms.
Oh, in city, Sam Sanders?
Yeah.
It, it's the low barrier shelter,
We got that already, yeah.
the pallet
Mhm.
modules.
Those sleepy modules?
Like little,
Kind of like tiny homes,
tiny-
but
little tiny homes.
like sort of like pop-up
What should I refer to them?
manufactured.
Pallet was the brand name. He called them pallet homes.
Pallet shelters?
Pallet, yeah.
Pallet shelters, yeah. Google pallet comes up.
It also included, annual funding, annual recurring funding for the continuum of care coordinator, which is BRAC. As well as,
It was bigger than the continuing care coordinator, right? It was like $250,000 a year or no?
yes, for BRAC.
Yeah,
For the organization.
yep.
Yep, and I believe there was also operational funding for the shelter included in it. It's all, yeah.
It's really exciting.
Can we maybe like write this letter, but could somebody look at the video again?
You should look at the video.
Before, like, can we like agree that
Yes.
Are
in
there-
principle and have somebody look at the video and make sure like, maybe it
The
should
points
just
align.
be like the suggestions made, the recommendations made by city manager Sanders,
During
including,
the-
and then just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
a list.
If we vote on it, it would be conditional on that, conditional on a check.
Yeah, like
Or-
we'll
yeah.
we'll vote
I
in
like that.
principle.
Do we have minutes
Because
from
we
that
don't
meeting?
have
Yeah.
to actually
Do they-
vote on using.
No,
it,
but
right?
I did just watch it, but I'll.
You have the
I'd watch
authority
it
to
again.
send it with them.
But are there pretty detailed minutes from the meeting that we could just take a look
I
at?
don't think so.
Wow.
No, I think you have to look at the,
Okay.
but you know, you put it on 1.5 speed and it's,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. It isn't very, it's only a few minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
This section.
I can watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I meant to do it, but I prioritized reading that
Your dystopian novel.
1,000-page packet that we had today.
Oh, okay, yeah,
It was only. It was
389 pages.
yeah. That's why I was late. I was getting to the, well, I shouldn't, I was getting to the end of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, we further want to find the policy recommendations.
Oxford.
Made
Here's the,
by.
here's the palette house. It's cool.
Oh.
I will do it, Catherine, to add, make sure somebody fact checks. This meeting.
Yeah, I think that's wise too. Let's check twice,
Yeah.
send once.
It's not be wrong.
I mean, I think all things we suggested are great, even if they didn't occur in that meeting. But
Right.
we missed. Maybe there's
Maybe
something
we
that
can
like
just
wasn't there. We're
Create
like,
the-
I didn't-
Be like, and we salute your prioritization.
we're like, we never.
I'm delirious.
I think is it just continued annual funding for BRAC? Do we need to say specifically? Cause it's like, it's more than it's more than one role. It's significant dollars.
Okay, it's
Um,
just BRAC and not
I
mention.
think
anything
so,
there.
yeah.
You got it already.
Pending.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I got it. So if you wanna come in tomorrow and just. Check some.
Might not really see, like,
Okay, good.
We have like a whole class on it.
Do we like it? Do we love it? Do we want to keep working on it?
I feel good about it.
Even if.
My understanding is, and maybe, I don't know if we've talked about this, but my understanding this doesn't go in, does not go into the letter, but connected to the low barrier shelter. Is as we know, Salvation Army is very much involved in that process. And is my understanding is looking for another organization to actually ultimately
Yes.
run the shelter.
Yep.
Yep, so, yep, I think this is good.
Okay.
Elizabeth's gonna be our final check. Okay.
You want to vote on it? We ready to vote on it?
Yes.
So conditional on. Who's gonna watch the video?
Well, Elizabeth says to watch it
Elizabeth is watching
tomorrow.
the
I can
video.
also watch it tomorrow.
Okay.
I need
we
to
got
watch
people.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those who have not watched the
Heather and I,
video,
we
we'll
will-
watch the
You'll
video.
definitely watch.
We'll communicate. We'll
yeah.
watch, communicate and edit as needed. Great. The light
Fabulous.
touch.
But all the comments would be.
Okay, well then, conditional on that, we want to take it to a vote. Yes. Great. I vote yes. Yeah, we vote yes to voting, so we vote to approve it as is, conditional on the recommendations being accurate to the October 21st meeting. Which feels like ages ago. All right,
Thoughts? Wolfgang,
yes, vote to approve.
Catherine,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
passes.
Great. Wait, done.
Okay.
Thanks, y'all.
And then we'll just have the goal of kind of holding off on that more detailed right to council letter until details emerge.
Yep. Put it on our agenda for like our monthly meeting this month. Okay. Great.
Or I could even like, I mean, everyone's copied in the email, but we can just see and decide if we haven't heard back from LHJC, maybe we give it another couple weeks.
Okay. The other things on our work session is a work plan check-in. That does seem somewhat dependent on if we want to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
But
I think we need to go there.
so the other thing is new business. Do we have any new business?
For this.
Any events we want to share? Things to table at?
Tomorrow,
Aggressive eye contact.
I will be-
You know, this is your time to shine.
Alarming amount of eye contact.
tomorrow I'll be at Madison Avenue for the Fall Festival, if anyone wants to join. I think that's the only outreach for this weekend, next week. Oh, not true. One stop is on Thursday, the 14th. From 12 to 3.
That's right.
Anybody would like to come?
Today, Thursday. Maybe.
It's on my calendar.
You don't have to tell me right now,
Silent
okay?
suspense. Let me think about it.
But those are my
We can't do that.
announcements for the next week.
What time did you say you were going to be at the Far Festival?
It starts at 5 and it ends 7 at the latest.
I'm thinking, I know we're trying to wait for Ernest.
Yeah.
But I also think it might be helpful for us to. I don't know if you've thought about this, I haven't, but like, what is the best way to discuss this? I mean, so I think there are a couple of things, like one, and you know. One could be, every time the door opens, I keep looking, it could be interesting, and I want to state for the public listening to this, that this is not the recommendation that I would say we will just do this and be done. But I think it could be interesting and helpful to get a pulse check on where everybody's head is at first, and any outstanding questions that people may have, that we collect that first.
Yes.
And then determine from there, here comes Ernest, and then determine from there what makes the most sense, rather than. It could dramatically change the course of the conversation depending on where
Yeah.
people's heads are and what the outstanding questions are.
Can I just make a small observation, which is that is literally how Martha's rules are supposed to work and we never do it.
Oh, and I'm not even looking at
The
them.
meeting.
You're
rules
right,
we
it
follow.
totally is.
That is exactly how it's supposed to go.
But I'd like to recommend that we use Martha's Rules of Order this evening.
Good idea.
Catherine. Thank you for naming that. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's funny. We've used this in other meetings before, but it's never been called Martha's. Like, I just see, you know, it's just like a great way to get a sense of, yeah.
So
The
first
point
of
is
all.
to make it efficient, if everybody agrees in one way or another.
Right, you don't,
we passed
2 hours
the
later,
city
yeah.
And we're going to go into the second. I
I
think maybe we all are
grassroots
grassroots because we're both on uncharted territory for this. And so
You got it.
Martha's Rules of Order.
Keep rolling.
So to continue Suzanne's thought, which is that we take this time to see how everyone is, I guess, feeling, initial thoughts about how to approach the public hearing. And then also address any outstanding questions that people may have regarding this. Do we want to do questions first, or just maybe we do the quick pulse check first? So what are, I'll defer to Todd with this. Todd, what are our options, our concrete options for moving forward the public hearing? Either move forward the public hearing.
Yeah.
Or we do not. And is there a third or fourth option
Good
with
question.
this? It is one or the other.
It is a yes or no.
Is it yes or no?
Before I say that, let me
Yes.
think, like,
Please.
I've never thought of it that way before.
There's no more back and forth. There's no more reaching out to. There's,
No,
Yeah.
at this stage, both parties are just awaiting a vote from the commission as to whether or not there will be a public hearing.
So both of them are aware that's where we are,
Yes,
and both of them are aware that neither one is backing down.
No, one of them wants the hearing and the other one, I believe, doesn't really want the hearing, does she? I mean, yeah,
She doesn't want to do mediation.
she doesn't want it, well, okay, and okay, so maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that
and
they both want it, do they?
maybe you could walk us
No,
through the
that's-
consequences,
Yeah,
the implications
one-
of
one-
one course of action versus another.
Mhm.
That would be helpful to me.
Okay,
okay, two things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hearing consequences, hearing
Yeah.
what does one party
Yeah.
want, what does
fine,
the other.
yes.
The respondent in a letter was clear that they want it to move to the commission. Complainant was okay with that per email. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, because that is the process. Like, it just goes, it's your decision whether or not either party wants it or not, as opposed to an appeal. In which that is elective of the complainant. If they send you notice within 10 days of the dismissal. They say, hey, I want an appeal or I want a review by the commission of the finding, if that makes sense.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, so
Oh, the end
consequences,
of the thought, yeah.
you have another,
Well, based on what you just said, that is the process. You said that is the process. The next step is it comes to us regardless if but it's because somebody has said that they are not like, it would have stopped at the final letter from you if nobody had said anything. Is that right?
no, okay, so
Sorry, too many, yeah.
consequences, I know it's coming.
That's
I'll
fine.
go through
Okay, I'm here all
we're kinda
night.
like processing here, so.
Yeah.
The process was, there was the investigation happened,
Yep.
it went to mediation.
Mhm.
Mediation reached impasse,
Yes.
at which point we say, okay, we're gonna render a finding.
Mhm,
We outsourced that finding,
mhm.
it came back with a finding of no reasonable cause on housing discrimination on the basis of race.
Right,
So that, at that point, that part of the complaint is dismissed.
yep.
Complainant did not appeal that finding,
Mhm,
but there's an additional finding of retaliation,
mhm.
okay? And so the retaliation finding is that is the piece that is up for public hearing because there was a finding of reasonable cause for that. And both parties are aware of that finding
Got it.
and aware that the commission's next step, unless they wanted to mediate,
Mhm, which they did not.
which they did
Okay.
not, is the next step is for it to be reviewed by the commission for whether you want to hold a public hearing.
Okay,
Consequences of holding a public hearing was the question, correct? Okay. So if you vote to hold a public hearing, we go through the process as is outlined in the version of the human rights ordinance that was passed in 2013. I have a draft agenda for how that could get laid out. So just expanding your definition of consequence, one of the consequences is that you will need to prepare for that. City Attorney's Office has agreed to be with us at our work session on the 5th of December. To go over that agenda.
Okay.
I will be needing to participate remotely for that, but I think it's still possible. if, so you get the training, you hold the public hearing, consequences also could include the fact that both parties may be present in the room and any interactions that happen there. We have to think about how to facilitate and manage those for everyone's well-being.
Mhm.
Just a thought. If you hear everything and uphold the finding, the most you can do is say, we uphold the finding, you should go back to mediation, or we uphold the finding, we recommend that the city attorney consider civil action on behalf of the complainant. They're not obligated to. They're under the current ordinance, they'd be obligated to for a housing complaint where there's a finding of reasonable cause.
Because we.
That's-
Okay.
Yeah, it's a change in the ordinance, but not under that ordinance. And that's how we've been operating, like, when the complaint is filed, what ordinance was in effect when the complaint was filed? So you can't impose a fine, you can't issue an injunctive order, you can't award damages, you can't do those things. Only the courts can do that. So that's really all you can do is uphold the finding and say you should either go to court, or we recommend city attorney's office take it to court on your behalf. They say, meh, we can't right now. Then you're back to, you ought to take it to court. If there's a finding, if you just vote not to hold a public hearing, then the case stands as it is with the finding of no probable cause on the initial issue, but probable cause, sorry, I'm going back and forth because it's probable cause in that version of the ordinance on the retaliation finding. The case closes at a certain date, at which point the tolling on the clock for the statute of limitations for the complainant to file begins again. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they would need to seek independent legal counsel or file pro se, which I don't probably think is a good idea, to seek any further remuneration or whatever they want as a result of the case.
Thank you.
That make sense?
Thank you for humoring me. I realized I asked questions before we did the poll.
It's actually helpful though.
Yes.
Clarifying questions.
Yes.
For other folks.
Yeah.
Are we ready to do the quick poll? So our options then are to hold public hearing or not. Great.
Yep.
Do we feel?
Can I ask a quick question, a clarifying question? And I don't know if I am allowed to say that, like, it seems like the motivation for wanting to, seems like one party really wants to have the public hearing and the other party doesn't really.
That's not the impression that I got.
Oh, it's not, okay.
But one party requested a public hearing, right? Didn't the lawyer for the respondent request?
Request a hearing because they got fined.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, so was the respondent that requested the hearing because they are contesting the judge's decision about retaliation?
Yes.
The complainant hasn't, what they've said they're okay with it happening, or they?
You could look up
Okay, okay.
specifically
I
what
mean,
they
I don't-
said, but
It
yeah,
comes to the commission for this vote regardless
regardless
of
of what they
anyone's,
want.
right, no, like, you're not getting it because someone requested it. You just
This-
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they
That is-
requested it is sort of like an.
But why has
irrelevant
nothing
detail.
ever come to us before?
Why do we get it? Like, we just get it because
You get it because there was a finding of.
of retaliation, so we would have gotten it even
reasonable
had
cause.
he.
You were
okay,
finding,
agreed.
a finding of probable cause in this case on an issue.
Okay.
Related to.
That was brought
That-
to, that was brought to the office.
that was brought to the office. So in any case,
Okay.
in any version of the ordinance, if there's a finding of probable cause or reasonable cause, which is in every other version of the ordinance, then if the parties choose not to pursue alternative dispute resolution through informal dialogue, mediation, or conciliation in housing cases, and in housing cases, neither party elects to have the matter resolved in court, then it comes to you for a public hearing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we feel ready to take a quick?
Just a quick pulse.
It's a quick pulse check, not a final one. All right, so yes, public hearing, no. No public hearing.
Sorry, can I ask, like, if we said no, that we don't think there should be a public hearing, like, what would be reasons that we think, like, this needs to come to us? Because we need to render like a finding and like close the case, but what are reasons we might say, no, I don't think we should have a public hearing?
I have reasons for saying no.
So,
But please.
yeah, well, I was just gonna say, I'm looking at Martha's Rules of Order again, and there's something before the pulse check. Is what I'm realizing. Well, there's also it says like you can have people who are in favor of, it says of the proposal, but people who you have and then you give a time limit. So it might be that, and then speakers who are in opposition, so people who are like, who want to say yes, would have 1 minute or 2 minutes, I don't know, I'm
Yep.
making this up.
No, it's great.
And then people who want to say no would have 1 or 2 minutes. And then, yeah, and then it looks like we have any general discussion, but it also like, it might be helpful for us to be able to say yes or no with some, like, with some explanation that then allows us to pulse check. Does that make sense? Or do we just want to do a quick pulse check?
But I say do a quick one,
Okay,
but
fair.
so, okay.
Yeah, let's do a quick pulse check. It's not, we're not tied to anything that happens with this pulse check,
Okay.
right?
so
Like-
Pulse check, pulse check. All right, so yes, public hearing or no, no public hearing. Do you want to do the
Well,
vote or do we?
We can
Can we just go that way?
You can just go
Just go
hold
round.
up.
down the line,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess thumbs up, yes, public hearing, no, thumbs down, no, no public hearing.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
And there's a sideways thumb too.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm here.
Okay.
okay.
I wanna hear the
Alright.
no's. I wanna hear the reason for the
We
no's.
I didn't fully capture like who was a half and who was yes, it was no, so cool. So
Yeah, we got a couple of no's.
Let's
Couple-
be confused.
couple
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
sideways.
I'm a sideways as
Couple
well.
no's.
Keep your thumb off everyone.
sorry.
It seems like we have no real consensus.
We don't have a
Okay.
That's the
consensus.
one thing together out of
Yeah,
that.
We might learn more as we,
Yeah.
like, as I say why
Yeah.
it seems like not the very best idea. You might answer and say, no, actually, these concerns are unfounded or,
yeah, we might learn a lot more
Yeah.
about the process.
So if you follow your
Yeah.
Martha's rules, those who were in favor would talk about why they were in favor
Mhm.
first.
Yes,
Okay.
so it is not a time for a debate. Maybe we should set 1 minute for the people who are in favor of yes. Hearing for each person. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't capture the
Are
vote.
you timing it?
Whoever
I
voted
got it. Let's go.
yes,
Dawn.
or
Chair's
whoever
timing.
who would like to ever speak in favor if you were undecided and you would like to speak in favor of yes.
I think there was
Feel free
only
to
one
speak.
yes, is that right?
You got the timer?
I
Yeah.
got
You
the
got, okay,
time.
Ernest
Let's
got
go.
the timer.
Okay,
Let's roll.
So.
Okay.
I don't have materials with me.
Ernest is gonna time you.
I got you.
Oh, I don't wanna be, I don't know.
I got you. No, that, we try to do it Martha's way, so let's follow Martha.
I was just gonna say, I feel
Go
like,
ahead.
okay, having the hearing may just be a good thing, just because it gives the opportunity to kind of more clarity, and it's also just get to the bottom. I feel like, because the person feels like they're wrong, just get that voice heard. And maybe it won't get heard if it's not a hearing. So I just thought maybe that could be fair. That makes sense, just kind of simple. Sad. Because I forget this person would talk about, I know, there's guidelines and all that, but sometimes, probably especially what I work with, it's just a lot of things just get overlooked. And I just think that sometimes it's just giving them that platform to speak up and just say, hey, this is what happened. They might not get the only shot. And is that, I don't know, I'm getting kind of off.
Anyone else in favor of yes?
you had
public hearing?
we had 2 maybes.
We had some maybes, if anyone would like to speak in
Maybe,
favor
maybes, the
of
maybes
yes,
are next.
yes hearing.
I will turn it down. So. Okay, I'll go maybe.
Okay.
My maybe is I just seeing that one wanted, one did not. I'm worried about them, it seems like they've been through this process a while. And a lot of lawyers, a lot of back and forth has happened, mediation has happened. I'm just concerned also with them being in the place together, and how do we mediate that? And also the fact that if we come back with something, we have really no power other than for them to say, you know, we say we do find something. Then, you know, what power do we have we send them, hey, go ask so-and-so to do this, and they might say, nope, we don't want to. And then they're back on the hook to try to find counsel and that type of thing. So I need to hear the no's.
I think Catherine was a maybe, weren't you, Catherine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling strongly like any course of justice would necessarily be served by this hearing. The person who originally filed the complaint, I mean, there was a finding that there was some harm to the complainant. They can choose to move forward if they wanted to, as I understand. Our hearing doesn't really change that. Right? The most we could do is say, well, the landlord didn't. We don't find probable cause for retaliation, right? I don't know,
We
it
could say
feels,
that, or we could, I mean, right, we could like uphold it or not uphold it.
we can uphold it or not
right.
uphold it, and the only thing we're gonna do is say we do or don't find, I don't know, it just
Right.
doesn't seem like there's enough.
Sorry, has he ever been in trouble for retaliation for the same thing? The
We
landlord?
don't,
We don't.
I don't know that, yeah.
What I feel like I should say to Ernest, I don't really know that the original complainant doesn't want it. I mean, because I stand corrected on that issue. I guess I was reading through the materials and it seemed that way, like just from when I was reading. That she might have privacy concerns and that it would be difficult for us to protect privacy. And also that it's sort of a asymmetrical legal situation where one side has lawyers and is like a landlord, you know, like it has many properties as it, at least according to the documents, it sounds like they have many properties. So, yeah. But I don't know that she wouldn't want it. I mean,
Does anyone else want to speak in favor of having public hearing?
Then we have another against.
And we'll do that for,
Okay.
yeah, speakers in opposition will
Okay.
present their views
Alright.
next. Okay, so those in opposition
I thought
to having a public hearing.
is it just me? Am I the
I
only?
don't know.
No,
Oh,
I also
okay.
It was two.
Oh, you were in opposition,
Three
okay.
of us, yeah.
Oh, okay.
At least two of you.
Yeah,
as well as folks who were voting
yeah.
neutrally,
I
who
was
might
To
have.
be fair, mine
views
was
of
like,
opposition.
mine was,
Yours was like-
I put it sideways, but mine's a little, I'm leaning in the no
I'm
to.
leaning in the no and could be talked into a yes, that I would say that is a fair.
I'm here and can be talked into.
So those who want to share opposition.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure that you guys have the information that I have. And so I was looking for, it was not an email that I got from the complainant. It was a phone conversation that we had after she received the letter about the determination. And she said she does not want to pursue mediation, but would pursue a public hearing. So it's not in opposition, just to get that clarified. Yeah.
Who's up?
All right, okay, sure, I'll put me on the clock. In opposition, I think we should not have a public hearing because I want to uphold the decision that was made and release the decision back to the complainant so that she can obtain justice as she sees fit. I don't think that a public hearing would do much to pursue justice for her or the respondent. Beyond, I guess, drag out the process a little bit more. Knowing this is a 2020 case means that they've both been waiting a long time, and I would just like to, the decision that has been rendered, uphold it and release them to take the next course of action. if I am wrong about, I have 10 seconds, if I'm wrong about as any like additional authority that we have, I would be open to change my mind, but I don't think we can have anything. That's it. That's my time. Okay. Time off.
It was very persuasive.
Okay. It's like,
Do you wanna put me on the clock, Ernest?
Whenever you're ready,
I'm ready.
go.
So similar to what Wolfgang just said, I especially having read all the documents, I feel like it has been litigated, if you will, and I worry that it will just be it would just be relitigated. And given the amount of work that has already been done, it is hard for me to see that additional information would come forward at this point. And Heather, you said this, but I am worried that the respondent will show up with lawyers. The other folks will possibly feel forced to hire counsel, which makes it even more inequitable. And to Wolfgang, to your point, we're talking about something that looks like it started in October of 24, so we're over 4 years in. And like I said, I worry that I don't see that we will just drag it on for them.
any other no's?
I'm a no, well, I guess maybe I've spoken enough.
You have your
But
minute.
I will just say, Todd, I think this is a really excellent investigation.
Yes.
I mean, when I read through this, it was so clear what was happening
Yes.
and, you know,
Documented.
I have to say that the judge, I would have, like, everything that stood out to the judge was like what stood out to me too, so. So anyway, I think it's excellent and it's tempting to be like, well, we should talk about all these issues more because a lot of these have sort of implications for legislative recommendations and things like that. But there are things in our ordinance that talk about protecting privacy. And I worry about that, like, I mean, they wouldn't keep us from holding a hearing, but there is sort of an interest in not revealing identities when people come to the human rights office. So I think that's important. And then the asymmetrical legal situation concerns me too.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
all
right.
for sharing. The next part of our process is general discussion or debate. Now we debate each other. Oh. We would like to set a time limit on the discussion portion. What do we feel is a reasonable time limit for discussion? Shall we say 15 minutes before the first vote is taken? Oh, 5. Ernest is
I would
saying
say
5.
5.
5.
This is ready.
5.
Yeah, I think we kind of have talked about this and I think we have listened to each other. And
So
I
you're
think we know
optimistic.
where we are.
Okay, so 5 minutes. Facilitator helps group identify key issues. I don't think we need one. And just everybody just pile on, we'll see how that goes. And then a motion to table or refer is in order and requires a 3/4 vote.
Good.
Okay, we haven't done that before. All right, we'll start the clock and discuss.
I am firmly in the no camp
Okay.
Mhm.
you've been
at
in
this point. I have not
Mhm.
heard. I feel like I hear your point about the person having a say, but I feel like these documents, like, there was a pretty thorough investigation. And the only thing we can do is undo the finding that was in the complainant's favor, so
Yeah.
I do feel like that the complainant's voice was heard, and it was a thorough, it's gone on investigation, it's gone on for a long time, let's just. Close the books.
I guess as long as she's had like the right counsel and she's had like the right guidance, I mean, I guess that's what matters and she's gotten, so it seems like if that's what she's had, then it seems like that may be the better to say no than,
One idea that I had that was sort of resembles the justice she was originally looking for is the complainant was originally looking for the leasing agency to reevaluate, just have transparency in their policies. And to change their policies if their policies were discriminatory. And I don't know if we uphold the judgment and release that to the decision is like, if that justice happens. So I was wondering, is there an opportunity for the commission to look into leasing practices of individual leasing agencies and to evaluate or make recommendations so that they are more transparent and they are more equitable. And that could be a way of us recognizing what she experienced, and trying to make sure that doesn't happen for others.
That's something we've talked about before.
I feel like that was, isn't that one of the bills that didn't get voted on?
Yes, it was really close to some of these bills that talk
Yeah.
about
They got voted down.
the credit,
So we can-
credit reporting.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
can we,
yeah,
can
but
we
we
as
can-
like an individual body, just like call them up and be like, would you kind of have a good discussion with us? Like kind of offline about more
Oh,
leasing practices?
Can we do that?
Can we do that?
Hmm.
Like what's stopping me from going to the office and saying, I mean, I don't even know what office this is.
Nothing's
in
stopping you
particular.
from doing it, but I'm not sure as a
Right.
commission that we
Right.
could call
Right.
people up as official commissioners and
Right.
act in that way.
But what we could do is make the recommendation, because there was this, it was this House Bill 996 that was
That's what I think we can do.
vetoed in May.
Yeah.
And we could say, now we have seen as a commission that the tenants really do need to know about their protections under the under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, because that might have
Yeah.
helped her in this case. Not with the well, maybe it would have helped her with the issue of retaliation, not that that was her complaint, but like being made aware of, this is why you're suddenly unqualified for this apartment. And yeah, and to say whether or not it had to do with, you know, a credit report or some other financial issue. But I mean, in this case, they basically admitted that they just decided that she was unqualified because she accused the leasing agent, am I right about, she accused the leasing agent of potential discrimination, and he rendered, or he decided that she was unqualified within 5 minutes of her doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Retaliation.
right, so anyway, having a law like that, having a law like House Bill 996 or, you know, whatever would be good.
Sorry, you said that was House Bill 996?
So there's, okay, it's HB 996.
1 minute.
Um,
1 minute.
there are a few others, but HB 996 was so that landlords have to be clear on the criteria that could disqualify a tenant from renting and make them aware of protections under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And so under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, there are these protections of you know, if there's an adverse action taken against a person in regards to housing or credit, that they should be made aware that that adverse action was connected to their credit.
They should understand why.
So just like, it's sort of like requiring people to create a paper trail of why they rejected
Yeah.
potential
Yeah.
tenants.
Absolutely.
Which it's, I mean, that's what we've heard from our housing advocates on these issues, so
Yep.
seems like we could go that direction.
Okay, so it seems like, add another 5 minutes.
Sorry.
We're gonna,
Just like-
it's like what the justice that would be accomplished by upholding the finding and releasing the complainant and the respondent to take further action on their own. And then the justice that we can enact by taking action as a commission to make sure that we advocate for policies that protect tenants' rights. Maybe I'm hoping there's space to do this on a very individual level so that this tenant feels heard. 'Cause I see your point of that, like, we're not really enabling that in this process, and I really wish we were able to do more of that. Explore this individual leasing agency, the individual tenant relationship, if it's possible for the commission to do that, like, maybe we can explore that conversation. But then also we work to advocate at the local state level with policies that protect tenants' rights. So I guess I compartmentalize this into what we would do, the justice that would be upheld by the hearing or not the hearing, and then what can we do outside of this? I'll give it back to the floor. Any further
I'm
discussion?
so curious what Todd thinks, because I feel like this was like the most thorough investigation I could imagine. So I'm like, what could we do that would be helpful?
I don't know. It- Giving the complainant the opportunity to file in court seems logical. it's also presents its own challenges and barriers because that means finding legal counsel, that's a whole other thing. As the commission reaching out to, after you've chosen not to hold a public hearing, reaching out to a respondent in a closed case to ask to review their
Have I
Leasing
created an
policies?
offline public hearing? Oh, no.
That
Oh my
you
God.
kind of created a public hearing
Private football.
after
Oh.
it's not to have a public hearing, because the matters that you discuss become public.
Right.
You see what I mean? I think that's the conundrum I'm having in my head, is that you basically decided to have a public hearing without the complainant having to be present, so. Yeah. I appreciate it, though.
You see
I-
the error of my ways.
No, it's not an error. I had to think about it for a second. I was like,
Yeah.
creative, but why?
Yeah.
Why would that work or not work? And that's kind of where my head gets.
But it's if we wouldn't be able, in the context of a public hearing, to require that the leasing agency changes anything in their policies, would we?
You can recommend.
We can recommend, but we cannot enforce.
Yeah, and I guess that was a deficiency in my explanation of what you can do. You can still make any sort of
Yeah.
recommendations to the respondent that you wish. They're not obligated to follow them.
That's not policy. We level it. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
If we don't hold a public hearing, are we in any way like depriving the original complainant of an avenue? Like, is there an avenue that she would have if we were to have the hearing?
Going back to what Dawn
Maybe
talked
I'm-
about, the only thing that you're depriving the complainant of is a moment in the public eye to sort of voice their position and how this impacted them. But as you note, like that also comes at a potential cost, right? But I mean, weighing that out, again, complainant said, yes, let's do a public hearing, I don't wanna mediate. Respondent said, I wanna mediate. Now, who they bring with them to the public hearing is another matter. Respondent's gonna bring legal counsel for sure, because legal counsel has been the primary correspondent since the mediation started. I don't know what the complainant will do. They had legal counsel during mediation. They could revisit that legal counsel or somebody else, but I don't know.
But they bring legal counsel. There's not a whole lot, right? Like our hands are tied and we can make recommendations, their voice is heard. But if they want to take it to court, there's still there's us holding a hearing may add to their expenses. Right, I don't know, I'm struggling with.
I sort of feel like we should not be substituting our judgment for what is good or desired, right? Given that
We're projecting
Yeah.
feelings onto.
Yeah, I'm making
Yeah.
assumptions, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was under the impression that because when I was reading the documents, it was clearly the respondent that said, I would like a public hearing.
We disagree with this, yeah.
And so it seemed like it was one party that really wanted it, but I wasn't aware that she had said, that she wanted it or was okay with it or. Yeah.
I still remain in the camp that I'm worried that we're just gonna relitigate something that's already been litigated in an exceptional manner.
And not be able to deliver any more
Anymore.
judgment
Mhm.
than has already been given,
Yeah.
even though we can't enforce anything.
Goes back to that piece in the ordinance. It's like it's at your discretion as to how the ordinance is best served. And I think that's what you're getting to is like, what is the core of your responsibility here?
Yeah.
As a commission? What are you trying to do? And it's like, when we take complaints and we're looking for what is the shortest path toward resolution and wholeness as best as we can provide it, right? And maybe that's something that you're trying to think about as a commission as well. What does resolution and wholeness for this look like? And it can take different forms. It can take being heard, it could take going to court to get what they want. Weighing out the impacts, again, you can't judge exactly how either party feels, how the respondent feels, because they want to vehemently defend their position. Complainant said, I'm open. But it's hard to judge there, so it's more like what process would get the resolution around the finding, unless you disagree with the finding, what process would get resolution on that finding more firmly than this. And so if it's not this, then it might be court. So that's a way to think about, like, okay, are we delaying their ability to do the thing that might be most impactful and like fulfill the duty of the ordinance? That's just another
Yeah.
way to kind of frame it for yourselves.
Could I ask another question? Would we also be finding on kind of the legitimacy of the process where the respondent seemed to have a problem with who the judge was and also had a problem with them obviously finding for retaliation when that wasn't part of the original complaint? Would we be in a position to say, we think that this judge is, a judge like this is, and not that this is what we would have to rule, like, so I don't want to say what the ruling would be, but would we rule on those questions? Or not rule, or deliver a opinion, or whatever you want to call
You
it.
do have to do that.
Okay.
I think that's a slippery slope for us as a commission to do that.
Yeah.
I will be concerned being.
Okay.
I will be concerned in being involved in that.
Yeah.
Cause there may be something down the road.
That is more of them questioning the legitimacy of our interpretation of the ordinance, and that's not really,
Okay,
yeah. For you to have to worry about.
okay.
Yeah.
Are we ready to take a first vote? Okay. So the way that we phrase this then, in favor of the proposal was in favor of a public hearing. And so we would vote either in favor of the proposal, in favor of the hearing, and live with the proposal, or opposed to the proposal. Okay, if the majority people vote in favor, we proceed. If the less majority vote in favor, the proposal dies. Wait, how should we do this?
We need to change the word proposal.
Yeah, the proposal is to do it, or the
It-
proposal is to not?
The proposal originally was to do it here in favor of doing it, the public hearing. I am biased because I originally said I don't want the public hearing. But also the rules of the order is set up that if we vote against having a public hearing, we have to go back to the beginning and kind of redo it.
But I think we could maybe
what is the
disagree.
proposal?
We could
that-
let's just
Yeah.
vote.
Okay, so
You could also
do another thumbs up
change
thing.
the proposal to say, we propose not to hold a public hearing.
Okay, I'm trying not to like my thing bias it.
Well,
is that?
basically you make a motion, somebody should make a motion, and so what is your motion?
My motion would be to not have a public hearing.
I second it.
We take a vote. I think this is just the first vote. It's just the first vote, not the final vote. If a majority,
If we have a motion on the table.
Okay, I'm just following Martha's
We are
rules.
now laying Robert's rules over top of Martha's rules.
Everybody's hanging on together.
Yeah.
There's no
I
second
mean, we
thing.
literally don't have Martha's rules as an option.
Proposal.
Is it, so,
Yeah.
if we're doing Martha's rules, this is the proposal, we vote. And then if a majority of people are in favor or can live with it, then we proceed to a second vote. And people who are still in opposition are able to state their objections and their concerns after the first vote. So, okay, let's try that. I propose that we don't have a public hearing and people can vote in favor, can live with, or opposed. So we can go down the line.
In favor of your proposal that we do not
Not
have.
compelled,
In
Okay.
favor,
can live with
can live with.
or opposed.
Oh,
I have to add a category to my things here. I will do that. We'll use C for can live with. Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
Modify my spreadsheet. Okay, here we go. Ernest.
I can live with not having a public hearing.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Do I have this? No, I have it. Okay,
In favor.
Catherine,
In favor.
Dawn,
Can live with.
Suzanne,
In favor.
Heather,
In favor.
and Elizabeth.
In favor.
Okay.
No one was opposed.
No.
So we proceed to step 8, which the second vote is taken as in step 6. We vote again. But
Vote
there was
again.
majority
So
votes.
to be honest, we already had the
We've already
first vote.
voted.
Our first vote was our thumb vote.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
That was the purpose of our first vote.
Does everyone, like any of the dissenting can live with it, voices like,
Yeah.
I feel like the idea is to say like majority rule, but
Yeah.
like, but minority voices still are heard,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
My thing is like, even if there was like a little small test of like discrimination or it was like retaliation, maybe there is something there. I don't know, that's what I was just saying. I don't know. But yeah, I just know that should be explored more, but it seemed like it's been investigated fully and it's kind of, it is what it is, you know, I can live with it. I just, yeah.
Can I just ask you a question? Because I'm not sure since they found that there was retaliation, what would our hearing add? I'm confused about that. Just to put it on the public record, is that what?
I mean, I think that is something that she would feel like, yeah, she was retaliated against and it was wrong if that was something that was set out just for her. You know, if that's something like, hey, like I was retaliated against because of A. To me, it wasn't because of this over here where he was supposed to be disqualified or whatever, or told no. It was because of this specific reason. And if it's because of this specific reason, it doesn't qualify with the policies. To me, that's, especially if he admitted it, it's kind of going against what he's saying. You know, it just doesn't seem ethical, I should say. It's more ethical than anything. So then, yeah, I mean, to be on public record, because if this happens again, at least it will be a pattern. So that's what I was just saying, like, and she might need to be that voice to say, hey, I started the ball rolling, and this is a pattern with this other landlord, and then you get another pattern, hey, well, he's retaliating against me too in this area, in this area, in this area. So I was just saying, like, yeah, maybe she should. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So-
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a hard thing.
It is a hard thing.
I hear you. I'm just, it's just 4 years. It's going by. That's a long time.
That part.
And I don't know if we're gonna really bring as much closure
Yeah.
as, you know. And especially if this individual has properties on top of properties. It's probably not the first or won't be the last time that he's gonna do this. And, you know, what could be great is if she reached out to other people that he has rented to, and they band together to come up with something, or, you know, an agency that could, that could work on that. Maybe that could be part of what the outreach person that the city is going to try to hire will do. But anyway. That is why we're spinning our wheels.
Todd, to the question earlier about, or the idea, Wolfgang, that you had about reaching out to them, and I know that's off the tip, but is there work that that the Office of Human Rights is, I'm not suggesting adding work, but is there work that the office is already doing? I know there's some work I think that the office is already doing in terms of understanding some of the barriers that may be, I feel like Shael, like, am I making there? There was some work that you were doing related to like different landlord, not landlords, but different apartment build, I'm sorry, what am I trying to remember?
It was the source of funds stuff.
Mhm.
The source of funds.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's not connected, because it is interesting to what you're saying, Ernest. It is interesting to think. And Dawn, what you're saying too, that a little bit of in my head was like. How? Is there any place where the commission and or staff is putting landlords on notice a little bit of like, people are paying attention to this, and it might not be us. It might be another organization, it may not be our staff, it may not be our commission, I'm not sure, but it is, it is interesting to think like. People are paying attention to when you retaliate and or discriminate against folks in this community. I don't know,
But the sad part is for every one that they deny, someone else still needs.
I know.
And we still get into
It's,
housing and stuff.
It's a bigger issue than,
Yeah.
I know.
So.
I guess it's what I do, like I work with people who feel like they've been discriminated, especially with housing.
Yeah,
So I think it's like sometimes like, oh, I just don't want to fight it. What's use fighting? It's just, and I think it just gets swept under the rug and then
yep.
it's just come. And I think it's just an issue. So, yeah.
And is the source of funds work potentially going to like possibly show any type of discrimination or? We
And
don't
I'll
know.
be honest with you, we haven't pursued that too much more
Okay.
deeply after
Okay,
Shiles had more cases to investigate, so
okay.
we just shifted to
Got
doing
it.
the
Okay,
casework.
okay.
unfortunately. So that, we were gonna work with someone on potentially like picking up that research, but they weren't able to do it. either.
Okay.
So it's a kind of on hold, unfortunately.
So if it ever comes off hold, maybe there's something between, maybe these things are connected. I'd have to think through that a little bit more,
Not same issues,
right?
I
yeah.
mean, in this case, money really wasn't
Right,
the problem.
right,
You
that's true, yeah,
I mean, they didn't know, they didn't like take stock of all of the funds that she had in the way that maybe they might have.
Mm.
But they were going to
yeah,
rent to her.
yeah, that's
Based on
fair,
her, my understanding is based on her, what she
yeah,
had. But she does it, there's this thing where she says, under remedy sought by complainant, she stated that she believed that if a landlord is found to have discriminated against a prospective tenant, that landlord should be obligated to pay a fine to the city. The city, I'm assuming the city can't do that, but I actually don't know. Like, is that possible? Is there something the city, like, maybe it could be and we already have plenty of recommendations, but maybe it's not a fine, but it's like the city will at least have a log that they're maintaining that says this has happened, and they put it in some, database or something. I don't know, but the city isn't, like, they can't just levy that fine, right? Okay.
Mm.
Cause I mean, it'd be a great idea, but
I love that idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
it seems like there should be a penalty.
there should be. Yep, agree.
I was going to take a second vote, but Catherine's put it out that that was the second vote. Are we good with that vote? Staying? Okay, great. Yeah, I wasn't sure. You wanna do that one? Okay. So we voted to not, so to hold a public hearing
Right,
and to release uphold that, correct me if I'm wrong, this then upholds the decision that the outsourced legal counsel found, upholds the decision and releases the decision back to the complainant and the respondent to continue as they will.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. I saw movement and I was like. How do we feel? I feel a bit
I
like,
think we
oh,
feel
It's
torn,
not great.
right, I think we feel torn,
it's
because we
not.
can't do more,
I wish we could do more.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's so much in this case
Yep.
that's like, would be really great to like raise awareness of all of these different
Mhm.
issues and.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Where you at? How you feeling?
Here to support you guys.
Mm-hmm.
you also though, like, I
Yeah,
mean, you have such expertise on this whole
Oh,
thing.
Investment.
You like
Well,
wrote a
yeah.
novel on this, you know.
And I'm always learning, right? This is uncharted territory for me as well, right? Cause I was still under Charlene's tutelage when I did that investigation, finished it after she left, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, and so this is a journey. It's, yeah, it's a challenging one. I think maybe the thing that I was thinking about as you're talking about not having the capacity to do more or the authority to do more, you know, that is part of the reason we're pursuing the FAP agreement. Right now we have, if there's a finding of reasonable cause, a case is automatically, a civil charge is filed on behalf of the complainant. So, and if they choose not to do ADR, then it goes there, ADR being alternative dispute resolution. Then it goes to court. So in that sense, it doesn't empower you all anymore. But, and I don't know how to change that piece of it yet. Giving you the power that the courts have. That's not happening even at the state level. It's not probably gonna go
Yeah.
fly with city attorneys. Yeah, so
It's a tough one.
it's a tough one.
I think the new procedures will be better.
Yes.
Right, everything about it will be more streamlined, it won't be
Yeah.
4-year-long processes.
Right.
And
I think our hearings will
Yeah.
have more. I don't know, will feel more useful.
in the sense that you could review the record and then write a set of recommendations afterward. Yes, yes, and not necessarily subject anyone to a challenging confrontation. That there may be an imbalance of legal muscle.
Honestly, there would be an imbalance of legal muscle just between us and the. Right? Yeah, it's not just the two
Like
parties.
how we manage it,
Yeah,
whether or not we actually make a, you know, accidentally make a mistake.
Yeah.
Reveal something we're not supposed to. There's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City attorney would be present to like
We'd be the jury.
help us
Yeah.
out, but yeah,
And I don't want us to shy away from that challenge because it's uncharted territory.
no,
I
I,
know.
But I also just don't see how it furthers justice for either party.
correct,
That's the problem.
that's the thing.
I agree. Both sides.
Well, sort of a uncomfortable
Mhm.
to that.
That's part of an interesting week.
Yeah.
Mhm. So work plan?
I guess, yeah, in our work session, the work plan check-in is next. It's like a bit of switching gears here.
Mhm.
Guess maybe to not wrap up the conversation, but thank you to Todd for coordinating the investigation for the past 4 years. And reading through, it's meticulously documented, and also redacted for our reading too.
Lily
Thank you
gets
to Lily for
a
the.
lot of credit for the redaction, but
Preparing.
yeah,
350 pages of material for us.
yeah.
Read it like twice, trying to understand. And hoping that the process, throughout the process, that the complainant and the respondent feel like justice was upheld during the process and that they can find some resolution going forward. And that we were a helpful part of the process. Work plan, okay. There's no resolution,
There's no
I
good
can't say
segue
anything.
there.
There's no segue.
Sorry, hold on.
Oh, brilliant,
You got it.
thank you. So we are in November and we voted to hold a public hearing. That was we did today. Looks like the next meeting we will take to amend rules and procedures to reflect a new election timeline. I'm actually not sure what's involved with that.
The election of officers?
Is that we are starting
Oh.
the
So-
election procedures and electing election officers, nominating election officers.
Put some changes into the rules and procedures regarding this. I have to look at it, to be honest with you. And I dropped that into a previous agenda packet, which I will also have to go back and look at because I cannot remember when it was. I believe it was the 17th. So that we met the deadline well in advance of when you had to like have 5 days notice of whatever, so it gave you like 2 months notice. Those are the things.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back and look at them now because I don't remember,
Okay.
but that's it, yeah.
And we wanted to also add, given that Elizabeth may have a conversation with Emily Dreyfus about Albemarle's effective right to counsel. Albemarle residents, we may use that information to update the letter that Mary drafted about effective right to counsel, and so we would like to add that to the November's regular meeting and potentially vote on that letter.
Yep.
So that we can,
Draft
oh,
effective right to counsel letter?
yes. Great, perfect.
We have the letter, we just would need to update it based on,
Review and vote.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the follow-up that we're mentioning in the letter that we just voted on today, so.
So we would do that on 11/21, is that?
Yeah. We also no longer need to do public hearing, well, tentative public hearing preparation. I'm assuming that public hearing preparation for December 5th was this old procedure, not new public hearing. You're nodding, correct?
Yes,
Okay, great.
yes.
So we would then have that space cleared for maybe other business or maybe,
Mhm.
okay. And that seems to be update for work plan. Also, officer nominations are coming up on December 19th, so think of who you want to lead this group. Is it you? Is it somebody else? Think about it.
Aren't I on the
Could we-
nomination committee?
You and Ernest, I think,
Oh,
are
me
doing
and
it.
Ernest, yeah, we got.
Nomination committee.
We got.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
nomination committee is not doing its job
No,
very
it's-
well. Someone
Okay.
should fire them.
I feel like you two will be amazing once you know,
Yeah.
now that it's closed.
Just answer our phone calls, please. And emails, that's all, just answer phone calls and emails, we appreciate that.
Or you will be nominated.
You won't know it.
Nominated. Nomination. Got me here. Got Ernest here.
And then also, with 2 of us going off, we need to start recruit.
Mhm.
And so if you know anybody out there, that would be good
Tell your
fit
friends.
for the commission.
Hello, public.
Hello.
But the two of you couldn't re-up.
I have
No.
re-upped.
We've already re-upped.
Maximum
Yeah.
3 terms.
Okay.
Yeah, re-up.
Alright.
They hit their limit.
Cause I actually
Okay.
filled in someone, I think, and then I
Did
did two. I think I've been here a long time. I
Mm.
can't remember.
It's not that long, oh wait, no,
It's
because
not
this
long.
looks like it's not that. Okay, but it actually was long.
Six going, yeah, over
I
6
think it's
years.
7 years, cause I think I filled in for someone and then I took a position and then or 6 years at least.
Yeah. 2018, when kind of around when I started, right?
Before.
Were you before I started?
I think I was in before you started.
Before you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlene,
Before I started work with Charlene, I can't remember before I started at the
No, no,
office.
you
I
were
think
already
you guys
here.
came after,
You
you
were.
both came after I was already. in.
you were already here. Yes, you were no longer farmer.
I put on cleaner clothes.
So we will hold the 12-5. I mean, we'll do something else at the 12-5 work session.
We'll talk about that in the
Okay.
November meeting.
Cool.
Okay, have a good night. Right.
Thank you.
I may not be here for the
What's that?
1-2 session. Oh,
We're, I think we're almost
We're gonna
done
do
now.
like public comment, but that's basically it.
what's that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
something,
Yeah,
the bulk of me is done.
You might not need it. Oh, that's right, because we used to do, we do nominations then?
No, it will.
No, nominations are
Nominations
12-19.
Okay. Okay, so
I
we
don't know when we'll vote on officers. When will you actually vote on officers?
We can wait till mid-January if we don't have to have the meeting on 1-2.
We would just do it on 116.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we'll talk about that process.
Okay.
Move to the nomination committee.
Yep.
Right, work session, new business. We have any new business? No, okay. That is.
We do.
Too fast? Too soon?
Um,
Taking a breath.
so I did send you an email about your letter. I'm sorry, I just saw it. But it was very well done, written up. And
I think it was AI.
it was ChatGPT, but anyway, it was definitely well done. So I'll make sure we get that to city council. And I want to give our city manager, Sanders, a shout out. If you watched the October 21st meeting, was that one you said? And what he is proposing and what he's doing, or what he wants to do. It is our hope that council will let him have the money to do the things he wants to do. To put bathrooms on the downtown mall, to support Salvation Army. And just kind of the way he's moving around money, finding money and using money in a proactive way is pretty cool
Yes.
to listen to and to see.
We even add a little sentence in our local policy recommendations, like we affirm this list of things as discussed on the October 21st meeting.
Yeah, so
So, and we need to actually fact check our stuff because it's just.
November.
I didn't listen to that.
October
It was the 21st meeting, but I didn't get to listen to the November 4th.
Thank you for the email, by the way.
But yeah,
It was like really helpful and I was like, oh, I'm gonna respond to this right
Yeah.
away. This is so great that Lily sent this and then
yeah, it was
somehow
amazing.
time got away.
So yeah, so very, yeah, I'll listen to the November 4th meeting, but I just haven't had a chance to. But yeah, that was really, really helpful. So, so sir. Kudos to you.
Yes.
And city council, I hope y'all let him do what he needs to do.
Cook.
So
It's critical.
it's very much so. So,
It makes me wonder if we need to update our letter even more, get even more powerful in our language.
let's throw it to ChatGPT, see what they say.
Don't tell me, Ernest.
I'm messing with you. We'll put some humanity on and make sure we get it straight. That's really all I had just to, as far as business wise, I just want to give
I love it.
a shout out.
Matters by the public, in person and virtual attendees. Do we have any one virtually?
Yes. If you would like to speak to the Human Rights Commission for public comment, please raise your hand. Phone attendees can press *9.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us and thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Any commissioner updates? Things going on in the world. Our lives, our local community.
It's been a really low key week.
Super chill. Barely nothing happened. Great. Okay, then I will propose us to all go to bed and rest. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Meeting adjourned at 8:08. Yeah.